So I don't know if anybody saw earlier on today. Obviously, it's St. George's Day, so people are out waving their flags around as they are within their rights to do so. But the more, I guess, the less reputable part of these demonstrations were the kind of EDL crowd, the Tommy Robinson types. They held a rally and a march in London today that was supposed to go through Trafalgar Square, and there was a kerfuffle. If you can imagine such a thing, a Tommy Robinson demonstration ending in a kerfuffle and confrontations with the police. Heaven forfend such a thing should happen in the UK. What a very big surprise. Let's have a look and see what happened here. So the BBC have been reporting on this today. St. George's Day arrests after disorder breaks out at Whitehall event. 6 people have been arrested at a St. George's Day event in central London, the Metropolitan Police has said. A man was arrested on suspicion of animal cruelty after a police horse was targeted in Westminster. It's really weird how these people, who were all back the blue however many years ago, are now getting mad at the police, but we'll find out why, because I've pre-read this. 3 have been held on suspicion of assaulting an emergency worker, 1 for suspected assault, and 1 on suspicion of being drunk and disorderly. The Met shared a video on Twitter which seems to show officers forming a cordon and a group pushing past it. Whitehall had to close traffic while the situation was resolved. Afterwards, a group gathered upside Downing Street and there was also a large police presence. So I actually have the video that Metropolitan Police released here, which is, of course, this line of police being attacked by these EDL types. And this is what the Met Police had to say about this. The event was not due to start for an hour and regrettably officers are already dealing with disorder. There is an area allocated for this event in Richmond Terrace. This group went past it and continued up Whitehall. When officers formed the cordon and asked the group to turn around, they reacted by violently forcing their way through. Mounted officers intervened with horses to restore the cordon. Now, chat. I don't know how many of you have been on a protest or a march before. I don't know how many of you have been on political demonstrations before. And when you have a political demonstration, you need to organise with police beforehand, specify the route that you're going to walk down so that the police know which area of the city is going to be off limits to pedestrians and to cars. And then the police will make sure that you only stick to that agreed route to minimise disruption. Of course, you'd have thought EDL people who do protest would be used to this by now, but clearly they don't get the Netpol pre-march preparation documents beforehand, which everybody on the left has, but we know what the police tactics are going to be. We know what the police rules they have to follow are, especially now that we have the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act been passed through by Suella Braverman. Good friend of these people, I have, since that she whipped them up into a frenzy for them to go and have a protest outside the cenotaph. Because of these new legislation that they've pushed through, when you have the Netpol briefing before a march, we know what we shouldn't do. We know how to ensure that things go smoothly, there are no confrontations with the police, and that we follow the rules to ensure that we look as best optically as we can. The UK protest movement, especially on the left, is well organised, we're well briefed, we are well prepared to ensure that we don't have scenes like this at our protests. The right-wingers, not so prepared. Because again, there's this narrative that you have. You'll see below this tweet, loads of people talk about two-tier policing. Oh, the police never intervened with horses during the pro-Palestinian marches. They are treating the Muslimics with a certain level of deference and they're cracking down harsh on good English people trying to celebrate St. George's Day. And I'm like, yeah, because we follow the rules. We are well briefed and we follow the rules. You guys are literally used to the police handling you with kid gloves and not holding you to those same standards that we forced ourselves to hold ourselves to for optics-based reasons, that you then violate the laws that you supported Suella Braverman when she introduced the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act. Then you completely violate those, and then you get all surprised when the police push back against you. This is not two-tier policing. The 2 tiers that we have here is people's approach to the police. We know that the police are scum. We know that all cops are bastards, and we take every single precaution that we can do leading up to a protest to ensure that we don't get into tussles with them because we know that the optics are bad. But these people cannot even comprehend the world where the police are the bad guys. They break the rules, the police do what they've been told to do by the government, and then they think that they're being dealt with unfairly because they don't know what the rules are, because they don't go on protests. It's honestly, it's just so perfect that these people genuinely believe, they're so deluded into thinking that they're being policed heavily because they aren't following the rules that we follow on our marches. Because they're saying this literally. The Palestinian protests haven't had these police presences that have been this heavy-handed. Yeah, because we don't give them a reason to, because we know that they will. It even says so in the article. An earlier post from the police said a number of people had been seen in the area wearing masks, and a Section 60AA order was enforced in the boroughs of Lambeth and Westminster, giving officers the power to require the removal of face coverings. This was literally part of the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act that people like this wanted to see put through a government because they wanted it to be used to crack down on the Palestinian protests and on lefty protests. And they didn't think that it would get used against them. They genuinely do not believe that it can be a single standard applied to everybody. They think it will only be applied to people that they dislike, because they're the in-group and the other people are the out-group, and think that it could only apply to the out-group. Suddenly it gets applied to them as the in-group, and they think that they're being unfairly treated. It's just like on January the 6th, where this woman came up and saying, oh, the police, they maced us, we're having a revolution. I'm like, yeah, the police are supposed to do that. The police aren't there to just protect you. Their real role is to protect everybody. That's not how police actually works in practice. You know, the difference between how white people and black people are treated by police in the capital, for example, as exposed by the Casey report, is explicit in showing that actually, you know, the police are more heavy-handed against non-white people. But because they're so used to getting away with murder, any amount of policing in accordance with the law as it is written is seen as being two-tier policing or provocation against them. Because they could have just gone here, acted within the rules, and nothing would have happened. Nothing would have happened whatsoever. Don't leave the agreed protest route, and don't wear face coverings. That was all part of the briefing we got from Netpol before the Palestinian marches. But this is what happens, you know, when people will treat conservatives specifically, will treat the police conservatism, to uphold the order of an in-group that the law protects but does not bind, and an out-group which the law binds but does not protect. Because that is the essence of the conservative philosophy. And they don't actually, I mean, for once, I'm going to back up the Metropolitan Police. Twice in 1 week, Helena, is a turnout for the books, me backing up the Metropolitan Police in terms of their conduct. But again, this is what they wanted. They wanted this from the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act, and this is what they got. This is exactly what they got. Because again, the Palestine process, broadly peaceful, broadly orderly, very few arrests. Everybody moved on throughout the protests, throughout the march, to the designated endpoint without causing a disruption, and the Metropolitan Police reported that as such. It's as simple as that. And it's entirely down to the fact that we know what we're doing and these guys don't, which I find incredibly funny. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.